This is the Brown Duke Gun Show. My name is JP Garcia, here today with the usual suspects, Brandon, Elias, Austin, Menard, here today just to talk about stuff that's going on at the range. And before we dug into this conversation about body armor and range maintenance and all of that stuff, I wanted to start the show because I'm sure that we're talking about this, so other people are talking about this too, right? Yeah. So I just showed Brandon and I just told Austin about this interaction I had online with Mira Tactical. They make body armor. And I bought some level 4 plates. It seems that they have some pretty light plates at a price you would expect to have at the ceramic plate level, right? The interesting thing is that I put these plates in the cart and then I took my kids to lunch yesterday. And during lunch, they sent me a text. They said, hey, we saw that you had, something in your cart. Do you have any questions? I'm not a robot. They sent this to me in text. And so then I started texting back and forth with them. And in fact, they're not a robot. They sent me a nice discount code. Thank you, Mira Tactical. But the coolest part was then I asked them on text to see if they were a robot. I said, hey, we have this podcast for our gun range. Would you like to be on it? And they're like, sure. So I'm going to try to work out the details. We may have Mira Tactical on here. I may have to drive out to Austin. But that's okay.
Oh, darn.
Another trip.
But that sparked off the beginning of a conversation about body armor. And Brandon, you were saying that you think this is going to go crazy soon.
Yeah, right? Probably so. It's probably like usually anytime crazy events happen, like, the Trump event, this past couple months or so, people go crazy and they want to buy body armor because they're like, man, like, there's shots getting fired. Like there's some people in the crowd that, died. There's one guy that died from it. So they want to have body armor because it is important.
Yeah.
So
but what the hell? Like, so what else is going? I can imagine ammo is going crazy.
Yeah, usually ammo is always crazy any election year.
Right.
You can pretty much guarantee every 10 years ammo's nuts, right? Like when me and you went to Detroit, like last year, 2 years ago, and I remember us going to that guy's place, and you walk up to his place. This is a small little area, like just right off the road. And he has like this metal building in the back, like shed pretty much. And he had like over 1 million primers in the back there. And we're like, what are you doing, dude? And he's like he had, I guarantee you 25 drums of brass, it was probably 5 million projectiles, like million primers, just everything.
Well, he probably had maybe
thousands of pounds of powder.
Yeah, he probably had 8 working Mark 7s going on at the same time. It was nuts.
And we were like, what are you doing? Like, this little bitty, like, place.
Tiny. It was smaller than Sentry.
Dude, sure. Oh, yeah, definitely smaller than Sentry. Like, this place looked almost like a house. Like, they had multiple rooms, and it was just like, you walk into this room, and it's like a reloading room. You walk into this room, like, it was just like a, it was almost like a drug house. They like, they just used the kitchen for, like, cutting all the drugs and everything. That's pretty much what this was. Like, it was crazy.
Except it wasn't drugs, it was ammo.
It was ammo. We're like, what are you doing? And he made a good point. He's like, dude, if you watch, like, just in history, every 10 years, ammo goes crazy, right? And he's like, we're dealing with a commodity. Like, this is a precious metal. Brass is, lead is, like, it's the same thing as gold and silver, right? So people invest in gold and silver. He's like, I just invest in brass and lead. And it's true. Like, he buys it on the low end, like whenever everything's normal, like during Trump slump, right? Whenever Trump was president. And then all of a sudden COVID hit and prices went through the roof. Like, look at primers. Primers were 2 cents a piece, and then they went up like 10 times. Right? It was like 25 or 30 cents a primer. And he dumped everything there, right? So he made money. It's just like dealing with the stock market or anything else.
I mean, that's, like to take a little tangent from our business, from, Skill Builder Ammo, I remember, because that's when we kicked off our business. It was like 3 or 4 months before COVID. Right. The COVID lockdown. And I remember because you guys came over, we had dinner, and you said, JP, do you have any primers left? And I had like 35,000 left, I was like, yeah. He's like, Brandon said, ammo's going crazy right now.
I need them.
And so he took them, and we thought, okay, so we were getting, we were making like
20 cents or something.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 cent margin on it, And then, but Brandon's like, I think we can make 7 cent margin. I was like, perfect, let's do it. It's like almost doubling our margin.
We doubled it.
But then it's like, had we waited a year,
Yeah.
we could have made $1.
Yeah.
A
Yeah.
dollar, like
Yeah.
a legit
Around.
dollar per round.
It was
You know?
20. It was like right under 20 cents a bullet, right? Like a loaded cartridge.
Yeah.
And we were selling them for. And whenever it started going crazy, I was like, dude, like they're getting 40 cents a round.
Yeah.
You know, it's like we can get 40 cents a round. So we like sold 100,000 rounds at like 40 cents or something. And
We had completely nothing left.
yeah, we had completely nothing left. And all of a sudden, like we keep watching the prices go up and it gets to $1. And we're like, dude, like that was $100,000. We just lost $100,000.
Yeah.
But you can never like sell the top in the market.
You
right?
never know
Like,
when it is.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
look
Yeah.
at the stock market is the same thing. It's like you're never gonna buy at the lowest, and you're never gonna sell at the highest.
Yeah.
So whenever times are good, you just buy, and then whenever times are bad, you hold on to what you have. For like the regular viewer that's watching, right? So right now, ammo is still decently inexpensive.
Right.
Like 5.56 is like 40 or 50 cents if you buy it in bulk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But next couple months, I guarantee it's going to reach $1, right?
Yeah.
So like, why wait until then and then freak out? Because the average person that's, you know, lives in a subdivision, doesn't shoot a gun or anything like that, like they're not buying anything. But whenever it reaches $1 and they hear about it from their buddy, they're like, oh man, I need to go buy ammo.
Right.
So then
Yeah.
they come into the store and want to buy ammo. It's like, right now is not the time to buy.
Yeah.
Right? Like you should have bought 6 months ago or a year ago whenever I told you to buy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I don't need that right now. I need to spend my money on something else.
Right.
All you're doing is getting caught into the, you know,
Yeah, to the hype.
into the hype. Yeah.
Right. You're fueling the fire.
You're fueling the fire. And it's just like a convenience store. Like everybody knows that if you go buy a Gatorade at a convenience store, it's going to be more expensive than if you go buy at Walmart.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right. But it's convenience and you need it right now.
You know
So-
what's crazy? It's like
Same thing.
when we were traveling, you know, there would be exactly right. There would be gas stations right in front of groceries.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like you could pay $3 for a
Yep.
Gatorade there, or you could just go across the parking lot and go into Kroger and get for $3 you get 12 of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, it's like guys, just think.
And
you know, but
they,
it's the
but they
same
do
thing
that.
here.
Same thing.
Same
Same
thing
thing with
here.
ammo.
Yeah.
So like buy the ammo whenever it's right now it's probably starting to go up.
Yeah.
But like if hopefully you already bought, and we do this warning like every time, right? Like
Yeah.
every time it starts going down, we're like, all right, right now's the time to buy. And people are like, no, I'm gonna wait until it gets a little bit lower to where it was. It's never gonna get there.
Yeah.
Right. Like it
Yeah.
never drops down to where it was.
Yeah.
It always drops down a little bit and it stays.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So you'll never see like primers at less than 2 cents again.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah,
Right?
no, that was the golden days. And when we started the skill builder ammo, we thought that that was good, but then all the old school guys, the OG guys, were like, oh man, this is expensive.
Yeah.
Even at 20 cents, like whenever 9mm was at 20 cents,
Mm-hmm.
guys are like, I'm waiting until it gets to 15. It's like, it's not gonna happen, dude.
it's
And
not
then it went to
going in,
$1, right?
Yeah.
It's like just buy it then and buy the bullet, and that's what it's gonna be.
Well, especially with like inflation now these days and stuff like that, nothing
Yeah.
costs the same as it used
It's,
to now.
it's exactly what it is. Like as inflation goes up, commodities go up, right?
Yeah.
Brass and lead goes up, and that's why somebody the other day were complaining about ammo prices after COVID. They're like, man, you think it's ever going to go down? Like it's not. Like if look at brass and lead prices, like the LMT's there, right? London Metals and Trade, it's published like every day, like it changes rates all the time. If you go and look at that, it definitely went up since that time happened.
Yeah.
So they can't produce ammo for that price, right? Like you can't produce it for 20 cents.
Yeah,
Big
our
companies
cost
can't.
isn't 20 cents.
It's not 20 cents, right?
Yeah.
So like you're not going to sell it for that. Like it's not going to get down to that. So just
Yeah.
buy it wherever it's at and go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's,
It's just like real estate. Like real estate's always going to go up.
Yeah.
Same thing with
Yeah.
commodities.
so yeah, I mean that kind of stuff's probably going crazy in the store.
It
I mean,
is.
what like all the prepper stuff, like that's
Yeah.
with now you have like God, there are two wars, and now we have a new Democrat coming in to take over for the campaign for Biden and stuff like that, and so now like shit's going crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's usually happens around election time, regardless. But this specific election time is like
Assassination
insane.
attempt.
Assassination
Yeah.
attempt, new candidate. So it's
Yeah.
And you have multiple wars going on too.
Yeah.
Right? Like you have the Ukraine thing that's still not settled,
Yeah.
with Russia and everything. And they're talking about, how we're underprepared. Like I think Putin or somebody got on a line the other day and was like, yeah, like US is not prepared for a war right now. It's like when you have another major country that's saying that, like that's not good.
Yeah.
Right. So
And it's got to be
everybody's-
true. I mean, how much like how many arms are we sending all over the
Yeah,
place?
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think we're funding that war from a munitions side.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
From our stockpiles.
Somebody said that Russia is shooting like 10 times more ammo than
Then
we're shooting.
we can make.
than we can make.
They
Yeah.
make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah,
They got to be getting it from somewhere.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So stock up on whatever you can and buy whatever you can at the moment. And it's a slow thing. It's not like a one-time deal. I think a lot of people get caught up in that. They're like, well, if I just like, it's going to cost me thousands of dollars to get caught up with it.
Mhm.
It's like, well, just buy what you can and
Yeah.
keep buying, right? Like
Right.
every time you go into a gun store, buy a magazine.
Yeah.
Right. Buy a box of ammo. Like every time
Mm-hmm.
you go and buy an extra box, if you're going to shoot 100 rounds at the gun shop, buy like 150 rounds or
Right.
200 rounds and then store the 100 rounds.
Yeah.
Right. And that way you start having a stockpile to where whenever ammo does get $1, you still have
You
that.
used to have
ammo.
some.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then at that time, there's another mistake people make is whenever ammo gets that expensive, they stop shooting.
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's whenever you need to practice the most. Right. So
You need to be up on
you
your
need
skills
to be
by
up
then.
on your
Yeah.
skills. So keep shooting and just like conserve it. Make sure you're not blowing 1,000 rounds at range practice, but you still should be at the range once a month minimum. And you dig into your stockpile at that time. People want to hold on to their stockpile and not shoot it during the
Yeah.
high times. It's like, no, that's why you have a stockpile.
Yeah.
It's to dig into that. And then whenever it drops down, then you buy more.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now would be another time, it's like, hey, if you want to start learning to reload, there's
Yep.
stuff now.
There's stuff.
Because I remember when people were, during COVID, they started asking us about getting reloading supplies, and it's like 2020. I'm like, you're not getting anything.
That's what I did. I
Yeah.
did it during COVID. It was
Yeah.
impossible.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It was impossible.
yeah, and the prices were terrible. It's like
Man.
like you pay double for your everything.
So we have a 50 Desert Eagle, right?
Mhm.
And so Austin was like, man, like I got him a bunch of brass and like bullets and everything. He's like, dude, the only thing that's gonna suck is like large pistol primers. Like, where I'm gonna find that right now. We went look in the back of the cabinet. He bought some
I
like
bought
during
I
2020.
bought like 3,000 during COVID. I was like,
He didn't
I
even
love
load it.
I didn't even know. I was like, thank you, me from the past. Dude, I probably paid like $400 for 1,000 large pistol primers.
He was the fish. He was the fish, right?
Yeah,
Like,
I was,
amazing.
yeah,
Yeah.
I was
he
that
was the guy that like walked in the gun shop and was like, what do you have? All right, I want
that
it.
was me, 100%.
I need
I
everything.
had no dies to load anything with large pistol, but I was like, large. You said primers? Sign me up. I was
I
like,
wanna-
sure, these are 50 BMG. I don't care. Give them to me. Give them to me.
I'll find a gun
Yeah.
for him.
Yeah,
That's what it is. Like you had no large pistol stuff, like whatsoever. Like you didn't even own a 45.
they were mine though. They were yours.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh man.
But yeah, definitely stock up. And I would always tell people like buy at least a year worth of ammo that you're gonna shoot.
Yeah.
So if you shoot 10,000 rounds a year, at least have 10,000 rounds
Mhm.
of ammo that's stored away, right?
Right.
And it's hilarious how whenever any news media covers like a shooting or something, like they had 1,000 rounds of ammo, like what do you need to do with that or whatever it is? It's like, dude, like that's minimum, right?
Yeah.
Like 1,000 rounds is a one range test.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's insane. Like I shot like me and you used to shoot 30,000 a year. So we had each 30,000 in stockpiles, right?
Right.
Like whenever COVID happened, we're
Yeah.
like, all right, we're going to hold 60,000 for us to get through the year.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And we held it and like we used through it. And then we're like, all right, now prices are still not there and
Right.
we can't find ammo.
Yeah.
So like we almost ran out. So now like I like to have like 100 if I shoot 30,
Mhm.
right? So it's like almost 3 years, but at least a year.
And
of
we
it.
can make it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you only shoot 1,000 a year, like buy 2,000 rounds, right?
Yeah.
And be done with
Yeah.
it.
You don't have to be crazy like
Yeah,
us.
you don't have to be crazy.
Stockpile
Yeah,
100,000
it's-
rounds.
It's just a number, right?
Yeah.
It's just like I'm using 100,000 because it's easy to do the math, right?
But for us though, I mean that's
normal.
not abnormal.
It's not
right?
abnormal.
Yeah.
No,
I mean
no.
it is well within the realm of possibility for people who compete and practice that you'll go through 30,000 rounds a year.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah,
Like,
and that's the lower end, like
Yeah.
right, like if you're competing in the top 1% or 0.5%,
yeah, you're in the
it's
50, 60s.
usually 50 to 100 is what
Yeah.
people do. Like I know that I shoot 30, Blake shoots 30, and we're compete at that level
Right.
with that small of a number. But I don't know if anybody else that like shoots that
Yeah, I
low
mean,
numbers.
you go to the extreme end of it, you look Eric. I've heard that Eric goes 100,000 rounds a year and 200,000 rounds in a world shoot year.
Yep.
But he's the undefeatable
Thing. Yep.
person.
Yeah, I
you
think
know,
Max shoots like 75 to 100 a year.
probably. I wouldn't doubt it.
who else is like I'm sure Christian
JJ
shoots,
Nails.
oh, yeah,
Like,
JJ shoots probably over 50,
Yeah.
I'd say.
so
Neil's probably shoots over 50.
Yeah.
I'd say. I haven't asked them personally, but maybe I'll do that. I'll ask them how much they shoot a year.
sure. Yeah.
But I don't know of anybody that shoots under,
Yeah.
at least 30.
For sure. So the point is, stock up on whatever you need. You probably don't need
Yeah.
100,000
no,
rounds,
No.
but you might need 1,000.
Yep.
You might 2,000.
Yeah, if you're average, like everyday concealed carry permit holder, and like you're worried about like protecting your family and stuff, I would say you're probably not going to shoot over 10,000 a year.
Yeah.
Right. I'd say that's a good number to be at, is 10,000. Like that would be a goal, but most people shoot maybe 5,000 a year.
Mhm.
So have 5,000 set up, and it's not a lot to shoot that. Some people think it's kind of crazy, like that's a lot of ammo. But if you shoot 100 rounds a week,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
1,000 rounds, and go from there.
Yeah, and you should if you concealed carry, it's like kind of like the same thing. Like if you were, and I think we made this reference before. If you're preparing for a fight, just like a fist fight, you don't go to one class,
Yeah.
of boxing, and then you wait a year, and then the boxing match happens.
Right.
Like you should probably be practicing every week,
Yeah.
or if you're a boxer, 3 times a week,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So that's the same thing with shooting a gun. You can't just you can't just do what I do and then try to cram for the test.
Yeah,
You know what I
that's
mean? So
Like, do the math, right? Like, see how much, whenever you go to range, how much do you shoot? Do you shoot 100? Do you shoot 200?
Yeah.
And then, okay, I should be there once every other week or once a month. You times that and see how much you shoot a year.
yeah, straight
That's
math
it.
problem.
Yep.
So gosh, so like, I mean, what else have you guys seen in the range that's going nuts because of the assassination attempt and like just people prepping
Guns.
guns?
Yeah. We've been selling a lot of guns, a lot of first-time gun buyers. Something else that we've taken notice to is a lot of parents with their under 18-year-old children. So between the ages of, we allow 12 is the lowest that we can allow in the range to 18, especially in that first 2 weeks. It was incredible to see. I'd like to go back in our books and see how many minor waivers we had signed. Like the parents that first time was like, hey, this is my kid. They'd never shot a gun before, and here we are. And it's like, okay, well, are you going to teach them? It's like, well, I don't know a lot. It's like, man, okay, so you both need to get trained,
take
right?
a lesson. Yeah.
So we've done a lot of classes with parent-child duo in the last, I guess month it's been since the assassination attempt.
You guys should make like an offering for that, like a parent-child specific class.
Yeah,
And we also have like the simulator range too. That's great for that. Like a lot of parents, they don't think about that, or they forget about it. Maybe they might not know that we have that, but we have that simulator in the classroom that they can come, and even if their kid doesn't like guns, or they're like, hey, I don't really want to do this, but you want to teach them some firearm safety,
Right.
you can bring them back there, and it's literally a video game. Right? It's like going to Dave and Buster's and actually playing with like a laser gun, right? And they have movable steel and stuff. Like Ellie sits back there for hours and just shoots and has fun.
The police department does it.
Yeah.
And they sit back there and we hear them like cackling like little girls to see who can beat each other in the and it's like, but it's practical.
Yeah.
And then they go in the range and like they do qualify for post better because they get, they're not jumping as much because they practice on laser shot. So their new thing is now they come in, they do the laser shot for like an hour, and then they go qualify for post.
Yeah.
So it's actually a practical skill. And we definitely see a lot with the kids. So it's awesome for them. And that's what we do is we end up doing like a very short safety section, get them on the laser shot system. If mom or dad that has never shot, we also get them on it, and then we go in the range with a 22 or something like that just to show them, explain how the firearm works, and then we can move up from there if the parent wants to or if the child's comfortable with it. So it's refreshing to see, but it's also kind of like, hey, where you guys been?
Yeah.
So it's kind of a fine balance between wanting to not scold them, but be like, hey, look, this is where you should be doing this more often with your child and for yourself, and trying to teach them the ropes and everything. So
yeah, for sure. Well, and I'll go even one step further than that. It's like, hey guys, you like Laser Max? You'll really like USPSA.
Yeah.
You need to come on our club nights every Thursday, right? Because of these, especially the police, right? If they're out there and they're practicing, that's exactly what we want all of our police, all of our law enforcement to do. It's like, yes, use the laser shot, get comfortable, have competition with your friends using the laser shot. But you know where else you can compete with your friends with your duty gear?
Yep.
You can come on Thursday nights. And if you're not in our area, you can find a practical pistol match wherever and compete, because it's same thing. It's getting reps.
The
And
long, yeah, go ahead.
most of the games that they play are USPSA, right? Like they're USPSA games that we have on the laser shot, and they're like, man,
That's
this
actually
is
all
fun.
it is.
Yeah, like, this is very fun. I'm like, yeah, it is.
Come on.
Yeah.
Thursday.
And like funny story, like Ellie was there one day whenever they all showed up, like they had a whole group of them, and she's like, Dad, can I go and watch them? I'm like, yes, but you cannot play, like, because I don't need you going back there and beating them at the game. Upset because she's like, that's all she does, right? Like, so it's a prime example of what we say all the time. It's like, it doesn't matter who you are, if you do it more often, you're gonna get good at it. So like if you go on the games and you go to the leaderboard, like Ellie's name's on there, and she's an 8-year-old, she's an 8-year-old daughter, but like she plays it all the time, so she gets really good at it.
Yeah. Well, and that's another thing, right? And it always devolves to competition for me, but like it's to all of those who are on the fence or don't want to do the competition because of one reason or another, I'll tell you right now, you should do it. Yes. You will probably get beaten by an 8-year-old girl. You will probably get beaten by, how old's Morgan now? What, 16?
Yeah,
17?
16.
I don't know. You will get beaten consistently by a 16-year-old. She's a world champion, so don't feel bad. But it's okay, because you don't measure yourself by them, because they've been doing it for their whole lives. You compare yourself to where you were yesterday and where you were a year ago.
I always
that's
use
the thing.
Luke Warren, like, he Lafayette police guy, and like he came in, and just like everybody else, your first time there, you're gonna come in last, or like the bottom 5 people, right? Because you just don't know how the game works. You might be a great shooter, and like he was a good shooter, like he'd shoot bullseye stuff, and he can shoot whatever target you tell him to shoot. He just didn't know how to, like, enter into a box, exit a box, like what targets to shoot first and all that stuff, and didn't know how to move and shoot at the same time, as well as he does now. So after the first time he did, he stuck with it. He's like, no, I really need this, and this is going to help me get better. And now look at him. He's been at it for 2 years, and now he's going to be a firearms instructor. He's like one of the best shooters in Lafayette Police, because he's at the range shooting every week or every other week, right? So he's taking it more serious. He's getting 10 times more reps than any other police officer out there, because he's at the range shooting. So you're going to get better. Like, it's a byproduct.
And a lot of the stuff that we hear too, because like we have departments that have that give their officers the ability to come and shoot without spending $1. The department pays for it. Is the guys that come will say, the ones that are not coming will say, well, it's such a, quote unquote small portion of our job. Why am I going to go over there every week? And it's like, hey, if you don't fill out a report wrong, you're going to be okay. If you don't know how to do this skill, it can get you killed.
Right.
Or even worse, get someone else killed.
Right? So it's a skill that we hope they never have to use, and we hope we never have to use, but if the time comes, you better hope you've been practicing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it goes back to the same thing, like just martial arts, self-defense training. It's like, why do you have to train 3 days a week? Most martial arts places, it doesn't matter where you go, they're going to say at least 2, probably 3 times a week. And if you want to get really good, 4 or 5 times a week. Why is that? It's because it's just reps.
Yeah.
It's just reps. It has nothing to do with anything other than just, that's what you have to do to get good at a thing.
Yeah. If you go to the gym once a week, you're not going to see results.
Correct.
You'll be in shape, but you're not going to see results,
Yeah.
And that's what upsets me so much, is like, you see a lot of them, it's like, oh, well, it is what it is, right? And they're only thinking about themselves. They're like, well, if I get into shooting, it is, that's it. But no, you might get into shooting and you're going to injure, like, my daughter, right? Because she's in public, right? Or you might have to save that person, a completely innocent person. So like, you need to be at the top of your skill set in order to do that, and not put the rest of the community in danger, right? And that's why, like, everybody that's in the firearms gets so upset about it, that like these people are not going to train, because you're carrying a gun around in public. Like, you need to know how to use that.
Yeah.
It's not your life, it's somebody else's life.
Well, and you go back to the Trump shooting, right? Or the attempted assassination attempt or whatever. It's like, well, thank God that guy didn't practice. Like, because I mean, and people have talked about it, but we haven't talked about it together. But it's like, geez, a red dot at 100 yards. It's like, that's a gimme.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, thank goodness he had a bad trigger pull.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah, thankfully Trump moved, you know.
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure like adrenaline is probably not a great thing to deal with.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and it was just, but it was unfortunate for the guy who died, and the other ones who got shot. But if you take that and you remove the fact that as a president it was a bad shooter, reverse it, have that be a good guy, and then you're trying to take out a bad guy.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And
it's
you
like,
killed an innocent person.
yeah. I mean, that's the same exact thing. It's like, just because the shot's a gimme doesn't mean it's like a gimme for you.
Yep.
You know, like you still have to do the practice and get the reps so you can hit that kind of thing.
Yeah, I can't remember the guy's name, but I know they named the drill after him. The guy that shot the active shooter in that mall from 40 yards with a pistol, a concealed carry pistol, and that's what he said. You know, he would go to the range a couple times a week in practice, and he made a 40-yard shot with a concealed carry pistol, and I think he shot like 6 rounds and hit 5 of them, and one of them didn't injure anybody, but it's like that's an pretty impressive shot.
And that goes back into firearm safety, like know what your target, what is behind it. Like that's a prime example of it, like the Trump shooting, right? Like he missed the target and hit other innocent people. Like that's why we stress so much, like you can't miss. Like you don't miss your target because you don't know where it's going to end up at.
Right.
And if it does end up somewhere else, you got to know what's behind that target and not going into other innocent people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, man, what a like taking a step back. I never thought we'd see that.
I never thought
I didn't
not
think
in our
so.
lifetime.
Well,
no.
and the fact that it was on TV, like literally, I took a red dot and put it on to target at like a mini target, and I simulated 100 yards. I'm like, my gosh, like that shot is not a terribly hard shot.
No.
I mean, because you still have, depending on his dot size, you still have
Probably 2 MOA.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
2
2
inches.
MOA. So he's got a little pin, like a pinprick dot, so he could see all around the target.
Yep.
It's like, jeez, man. Anyway,
Yeah.
thank goodness it went the way it did. In a sense, I totally hate it for the guy who died and their family, but
And hate it for America. Like
I hate it for America. I hate it for well, like one of the things I was thinking about was like, because I have this podcast and then I have my business podcast, and I was thinking about just like, okay, maybe I should just mix the two, because it's like to show people, it's like, hey, look, people have layers, and I can be a successful business person and a gun person, and I'm not crazy, and there are more of us by and large than there are crazy people with guns.
That's usually like one of my favorite things to do, because like whenever people first hear about you, they're like, oh, like you own a gun store, or like, you're national level competitor shooter and stuff.
Yeah.
And then they think like you're some crazy gun person, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, you're just like a normal person. It's like, usually everybody is. There's only like a very few that have like a bad rap because like, oh, they're a gun guy, and they try to make you feel like uncomfortable and like you don't know anything about guns, right?
Right.
So throwing numbers at you or whatever. And it's like, it's nonsense.
And those are the people who like kind of know the least.
Yes, exactly.
It's like,
they usually do.
And
Like, you don't know what a Norinco SKS is? And like, well, that's like a bunch of letters jumbled up. And like, no, I don't know what that is.
Is that a restaurant? I don't know. What are we doing here? So yeah, I mean, like the people, the couple weeks after the assassination attempt, like, I mean, they didn't get 2 feet in the door, and they were like, "What do you guys think about it? What are we gonna do about it?" It's like, what are you talking about, man? like what we don't want violence. Like we're the exact opposite of violence.
Yeah.
It's like we thank God for the way it turned out. Again, we don't want anybody to get killed. It's senseless violence.
Yeah.
But like this isn't, no matter which side it is, it doesn't warrant some kind of retaliation.
No.
Like it's senseless violence.
Literally the last thing you want.
Yeah, it's senseless violence. Like even if the worst case scenario would have happened, it's like it's still senseless violence. Like it's not like anything would have been done. Like
It's not like people were like cleaning their rifles, going out to go like try to find the guy. It's
volley each other. Like it's senseless violence. It's the exact opposite of what we stand for.
Yeah.
It's what we teach people to protect themselves against, not to go out and instigate.
Yeah. 100%. So, man. Well, this podcast went a totally different way than we thought it was.
It's a good topic. We haven't talked a lot about it, but
and it's like, so, and everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that it's just, I think the takeaway is like people ask because they ask me too, right? What do we do? What do you do? What's the next step? It's like, well, the next step is the same as it was yesterday. It's like go out there, practice, and like don't put yourself in weird situations. Like have situational awareness where you're going. Be prepared. Follow the laws. Don't shoot people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not that difficult.
Exactly.
And if we get a lot of people that come to the store that's like, well, whatever happens in November, what's going to happen? It's like, man, like you said, it's the same thing as yesterday. Will we take different, measures maybe for like we talked about stockpiling and stuff like that? Yeah, because when elections happen, ammo stockpiles, firearm stockpiles, they change depending on the direction of the election. But again, there's no like measures that we're going to take, but if you're scared of something, then train. Like, I'm not going to tell you can't be scared of something,
right?
No matter how the election goes. Like, if you're scared of the election going one way, then train, and then you don't have anything to be afraid of. There's no sense in going above and beyond and like becoming this. You want everybody to be afraid of you, and I don't know.
Yeah,
we see a lot of that.
And the other thing too is like going back to what we said earlier. It's like if you're afraid that ammo is going to go high and guns are going to be not reachable, to go buy them now.
Go buy them.
Yep, go buy them now.
Like, I mean, everybody has their own financial situation. I get it, but it's like, hey, man, if you're
just afraid of it,
it's priority, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Like, what is your priorities right now? Is it that important? Then go buy it.
It's right. Yeah. It's like, well, what do you guys think is going to happen with ammo? It's like, well, we think that it's going to be hard to get. It's like, okay, well, what should I do? You should buy a lot of it. Oh, I can't.
Okay, well then.
When this was a mood conversation,
Yeah.
It's like, well, I mean, sorry. Like, what do you want me to give you some? I'm not going to do that,
Yeah.
So it's like, but they just, I think like we talked about is they see folks in the community, like the three of us, as like a beacon of knowledge, and for somehow we know what's going to happen. And it's like, man, we just do the same thing every day. And by doing that, we're prepared.
Yeah.
So
and I think that we are much more knowledgeable than a lot of people, and that's okay.
Yep.
I think that one thing that's kind of been happening is that people are trying to take sides now.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
they're trying to find a team to be on. What's the correct team to be on? I'm like, hey guys, no. Like the last thing we want to do right now is like get one side against the other and like
that's
guns
what I want you to
versus
do.
no guns.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
Sure.
So that's one of the reasons I'm sure that why people do shit like that.
Yeah.
And that's the last thing we need to do.
Yeah, they want to divide as much as possible.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like that's the last thing you want to do.
Yeah.
Or give them.
That's right. It's like like they want to and me conspiracy theorist now, it's like, okay, they want to make gun people out to be crazy so they can take away guns. It's like, hey, no, because 99.999% of the gun owners aren't going out there doing crazy shootings. We're just we have
like
our guns.
that's already been a topic, right? Like
Yeah.
Kamala already said, like, oh, there's going to be an assault weapons ban.
Yeah.
Right. Like
Yeah.
the second that she like announced that she was running for president, like the next couple days, she announced that, and it's like, everybody knew that was coming, right?
Yeah. It's not a shock.
It was an assassination attempt with an AR-15 on the other
former
candidate.
president, yeah.
And you're gonna now say like, oh, we need to take away guns.
Of course.
Right? Like,
Yeah. So anyway, well, gents, I think that's a good one. We've been going for a little while. So anything else you always want to say? We'll have to do the range maintenance podcast another time. We'll maybe save that for next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thanks all.